Guess who's back? 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 Guess who's back?
All right, good afternoon. Today I am coming to you from the Franklin Roosevelt Memorial in Washington, D.C. Seriously, if you have ever been to Washington, D.C., this is an amazing place to visit. Everything in the whole area is translated into Braille, and the whole memorial, it's like 5 different rooms that are outside, and it is designed to be as accessible to as many different Americans as possible. Anyway, so this is the first statue you would see of him as you come in. Okay, so for this coming week, you have this Edpuzzle video to watch, and then you have 2 assignments to complete. One of them is mandatory, as in like, that's the only choice you have, and this is what you're doing. The second one is a choose your own adventure style, so you get to do one of those options. Okay, and then there are some optional assignments as well, including a virtual tour of this memorial if you'd like to see the rest of it. All right, for the mandatory, we're going to use something that the district has asked us to use. It's called Apex Learning. It has some good information on the New Deal, but some of the information is at kind of a high reading level. It's supposed to be kind of AP level stuff. So I've provided a worksheet for you to fill out as you go through the information, and I'm hoping that if you use that worksheet, you should then be able to do very well on the test. Okay, if you're confused, join the video calls that we have. We'll go through it together. Focus on filling out the worksheet and then take the little test at the end of the New Deal segment. It's 3 questions and you can take it 3 times.
I will take that challenge. I like that.
Okie doke. This week also we are finishing our look at what government should do for its citizens. What is the role of a government in a time of crisis? Remember, in the 1930s, when there was the Dust Bowl and the Great Depression, this guy believed in the Economic Bill of Rights, right? So that was his belief that Americans should have the right to a job, to shelter, to financial security, to healthcare, etc., right? So he believed that was a right. So when I say, should the government provide things like a job for people, right? That doesn't mean, like, normally when you go out to find a job, you have to go and apply to different companies. This guy sets up these agencies so that the government is paying people to do work. So it's a lot of money for the government, but once those people have money, they can then go out and spend it in stores and they can go and help other people.
Now who's the dummy?
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 Now
You want to use the back of your mouth. Try again.
Now who's the dummy?
Now who's the dummy?
Now who's the dummy?
Now who's the dummy?
Your mouth is moving. If your mouth is moving, the effect is ruined. Try to keep your lips immobile.
The dummy.
Okay, and we're going to find out this week too how effective that was. All right, so that's what he does. That was his belief. In order to carry out those beliefs, he started something called the New Deal. And the New Deal was the name we give to hundreds of different government programs that came out at this time to help people get back on their feet. And so we break these programs normally into 3 categories. Number 1, relief. Relief, think like putting a Band-Aid on a wound. These include things like soup kitchens, like we're going to help you really quick right now. Number 2, recovery programs. Recovery, think like going to the hospital. So it was something they did to help people a little longer term than a soup kitchen, but these weren't in place forever. And then reform programs. So reform programs are programs that we started back in the 1930s that we still have today. This fundamentally increased the power that the government has to help Americans, okay? So as I said, the New Deal has hundreds and hundreds of programs. all of them are referred to with names like the FDEC, the SEC, the AAA, the CCC, the WPA. So people started calling those programs alphabet soup. Okay. As I said, some of these programs were short-term, others are still here today. So you might hear even references to some of these programs.
The FCC won't let me be or let me be me, so
Even today in politics, so Bernie Sanders, who has just finished his campaign for the presidency, but he talked a lot about his belief in an economic bill of rights for the American people, and he talked about a Green New Deal, right? So he was pushing, like Franklin D. Roosevelt did, to increase the size of the federal government. So just like back then, today some people think that those programs are going to cost the government way too much money, and it's not necessarily the government's place to do those things. Okay, so that's the conversation that we're going to have. That's the conversation that I want you to kind of be thinking about as you go. Okay. So for this week, due next Friday, number one, you got to listen to this video. Congratulations, you're almost done. Number two, you have to go on to Apex Learning and take 45 minutes and do as much of it as you can. Okay. Number two, you get to choose your own adventure. Ooh, and look into some of the programs either from Franklin D. Roosevelt's New Deal or that our government is currently doing to help people during the coronavirus pandemic, right? So even those things like giving people money from the government, there's a lot of people who are saying that that is also too much from the government, right? That seems like socialism, like us doing too much as a government for the American people. Okay. And then at the end, as I said, there are some optional assignments. And if you are rolling your eyes at me, stop it. Some of the optional assignments are cool, like the virtual tour of this place is kind of interesting. And a lot of the optional assignments are things like movies or audiobooks. So if you're bored, invest in some history. Okay, miss you all. Have an amazing week. And I'm here as always to help you if you have any questions.